heard rumors, but I always thought that was hooey.
And then it got worse.
Is somebody there with me? Am I going crazy?
Who's there? Knew that he was a ghost. He could move around without moving. What, I see dead people?
I believe no.
What you're about to watch is based on true events. Some details have been altered to protect confidentiality.
My name is Maureen, and I work the night shift.
Forced to relocate to an unknown city, single mom Maureen must find work immediately.
This was really a life-changing time of my life. I had just ended a 17-year marriage. I was really desperate, so I took a job as a trauma scene cleanup.
Maureen's first couple of shifts are quiet until tonight. She's tasked with cleaning up a tragic suicide of a wheelchair-bound victim. Maureen's boss warns that inside the apartment, the daughter of the victim must be removed.
I was like, great. I put the suit on. The daughter, she was weird, and I thought it's just because she just lost her dad. She's traumatized by it.
Maureen needs her to leave.
You can't be here. He's my father. You can't be here. I just don't want you to see what's in there.
Finally alone, Maureen begins the gruesome cleanup.
My boss, he's like, yeah, the suicide, it was pretty messy.
But that's not all that is scary about this house.
I was having a hard time breathing. I can see the guy's wheelchair. And it's moving.
On its own.
All the hair stood up in the back of my neck. I was totally scared. And I take a deep breath and I go, okay. As you can imagine, this was mind-blowingly gross.
Before Maureen can begin, a voice calls out. And then, a vision assaults her. An angry spirit.
And now I'm having to face that, what, I see dead people? It was mind-blowing.
Maureen tries to shut the entity out.
So I close my eyes really tight. And he appeared to be gone.
In shock, Maureen cautiously checks to see no one is there. And suddenly, it's back.
What are you doing here?
It breaks through the door.
There's this guy that's literally angry and in my face. And he's looking like a wild man.
That sounds awful. This unknown thing in your face?
Yes, and I'm scared. I can barely breathe.
Maureen's personal life has been in great upheaval for quite some time. This is one of the most difficult and stressful positions you can take. A crime scene cleaner. It should be no surprise that the energies involved are unlocking something within Maureen's mind.
It is trapping Maureen, forcing her to see how he died.
I'm watching it all unfold, feeling so helpless. Leave me alone!
He's desperate to tell his story from the other side.
I had a major stroke, and if you look up, I can't reach the gun because I'm in a wheelchair.
And shockingly, in the vision, Maureen sees the daughter is involved.
This is an assisted suicide. My daughter handed me the gun, and then he blew his head off.
Maureen doesn't want to see visions.
I've got mediums through my family. I didn't want to be considered weird or strange or different. I did not want to be a medium.
When Maureen walks into the scene of the old man's death, at first it appears to be a straight-up suicide, but she's able to read the energies present in that room, and a very different story unfolds. The man's daughter helped him. Sometimes all that an intuitive has to do is listen. Once the spirit has finally told their story, once they've gotten that great weight off their chest, their energy vibration seems to lighten and they are able to move on.
With the spirit gone, Maureen takes off.
I drove home and I took the longest shower of my life and I just wept.
Did you tell your boss?
I thought about telling my boss at this point what happened, but, you know, I thought I was a little weird to be seeing spirits or having them talk to me. I didn't want anyone else to think that I was weird, so I avoided talking to my boss about this scenario.
Maureen doesn't want to go back, but the call comes in from her boss.
A couple days pass, and the phone rings again. It's now 10 o'clock at night. I was quiet for a minute because I was like, last time wasn't so good. Someone called in sick. Can you come to a murder scene?
Why did you go?
I debated whether I should quit this job. Are you sure you don't have anyone else to go? And he's like, no, so-and-so called in. I reasoned with myself that, one, you need the money. And I was like, okay, I can do this.
On this job, she is working in a desolate area of town, cleaning up the murder of a teenage junkie.
I'm so scared. You know, I'm looking around. There'd just been a murder here. I can see the dark shadow of blood at my feet.
Maureen is determined to get the job done. But something around her changes.
The most eerie energy ever.
And against her will, it's happening again. Working as a trauma scene cleaner, Maureen's intuitive abilities have been awakened, making her victim to a paranormal vision. Alone at a murder scene, Maureen finds the courage to finish her shift.
I just kind of focused on my kids and what I wanted to do for them, what I wanted to accomplish for my life, and this was temporary.
Despite her fighting it, another terrifying entity has begun an assault.
I kept saying in my head, this is temporary, it's a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone, keep going.
But the presence won't let up.
Help me. I take a deep breath and I kind of look to my side, and it was kind of hard because of the way the light was shining on me. I wasn't sure if anyone was coming at me. And then I hear footsteps again. I look up to see if I'm alone still. And it just had this eerie feeling like you're not alone, but you're alone.
Help me. Help me.
Maureen is not alone.
No. I'm sorry.
all of a sudden I hear, Mom, I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
I had goosebumps and I was just kind of frozen. This ghost is talking to me. It was so surreal. As I'm sitting there, my heart is racing and I'm like thinking, you gotta leave.
One so worried. One so worried. No.
Leave me alone! Leave me alone!
And I don't want to hear it. I just don't know how to stop it.
She makes a desperate run to safety.
Knew that he was a ghost because he could move around without moving. Like sometimes he would be on one side of me and then the other time he would be on the other side of me.
Maureen has lost the fight. Her ability to see dead people is opening.
This is the spirit of the kid that just died.
All of the stress that Maureen is experiencing seems to be unlocking her latent intuitive abilities, abilities that she never knew she had.
He was 21. He said he was using drugs. And he told me the vehicle and the people that killed him. He's standing beside me, talking, and I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to you. My mom is an intuitive, she was a psychic, but I wanted no part of it. I did not want to be a medium.
The young man who was murdered met a sudden, violent, and tragic death. They weren't expecting to die. They may not even be aware that they're dead. And they're hanging out in that location, waiting for the opportunity to make his presence known to somebody. What's the one thing that he wants more than anything else? Peace, by telling his story to the one person that can hear him.
And then I blink, and the guy's gone. I was like, what is happening? And I had goosebumps. The fear welled up in my throat, and I was just kind of sitting there, frozen. It was just the scariest thing of my life.
So do you believe in the paranormal?
Yeah. Yeah. I want it to end. After that day, you know, it made me really look at the fact that I'm not like everyone else.
My name is Stacy, and I work the night shift. I decided to get a second job at night because my girlfriend, she wanted to buy a house, and so in order to do that, I felt the need to get a night job to get a down payment. This job that I took was exactly the same kind of job I was doing during the day.
Stacy works at a factory for custom speakers on a shift no one wants. Stacy's boss can't get workers to stay.
I've got our orders backing up, so
Sure.
thanks.
And they needed an extra body at night to apply the finishes and the different colors so that they could be ready for the final assembly the next morning.
No one will be working in this part of the factory.
Now, the compressor, you've got to make sure that you turn it off at the end of your shift, okay? If you don't, it can cause a fire.
Okay.
Okay, you got it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
great.
I got it.
Well, I'll leave you to it.
All right. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome.
Stacy buckles down for a long night of work.
I was kind of a little bit nervous being there by myself. But that was okay. But I didn't need supervision. I didn't need somebody to look over me and tell me what to do. I had to sand these large speakers, put some finish on them, and then push them out the door to dry. About 2 weeks in, things seemed to start to change quite a bit. I was in the paint booth applying some finishes on this really big speaker. Kind of felt really uneasy being there. Heard something outside the booth.
It sounds like it's outside the paint room.
I didn't know exactly what it was. It's more like a faint, deep voice.
Hello?
Stacy hears it, but he can't see it.
It's really scary. I mean, you think somebody's there with you, and you look around and nobody's there. You're thinking to yourself, am I going crazy? Something strange was going on. I shut off the air compressor, turned the lights out, locked the door, and went home.
The next night, it gets even stranger.
Stacy, what did I tell you about the compressor?
What are you talking about?
You left it on all night.
And I'm like, I don't think I left it on. I'm pretty sure I turned it off. He said, no, it was on.
It won't happen again.
With pressure from his boss, Stacy is extra attentive around his work.
I was like, I'll make sure that I turn it off.
Stacy is checking the compressor. Night after night.
I would turn the air compressor off and I'd get a call from my boss saying I left it on. I was like, no, I turned it off. I know I did. And he didn't believe me, and he would get very upset with me. Something was going on in this place, and I didn't know what it was.
Determined to prove to his boss that he's not lying, Stacy records his actions.
I got my phone, which has video on it, and I videotaped myself turning it off. I actually filmed my hand shutting the switch off.
Okay, Dan, this is me. I'm gonna turn off the compressor. All right, so here's the compressor, and I'm turning it off, and now it's off.
But whatever is messing with Stacy won't be stopped.
What's up, boss?
What have I told you about the compressor?
What are you talking about?
You left it on overnight again.
For some reason, the compressor came on again.
Now hold on, just listen, all right? I took a video, I have proof.
I said, hey, look, I know I turned the air compressor off. I have this video.
Look at that.
He saw it and he said, yeah, you turned it off. But it came on this morning. And he didn't know what to say. And of course, I didn't know what to say either. Something strange was going on.
Wait. What's that? You're the only one in here, right?
Yeah. I don't know what the hell that is.
When I was videotaping my hand turning off the switch, there's this like outline. It looked like a person, but nobody's really there. It's just like a shadow. And it kind of moved a little bit, not a lot, but it moved a little bit like a real person. It's like, oh my God, there's somebody there.
Get back to work.
Stacy's boss is gone for the night. Alone, he returns to the paint room to get done quickly and get out of there. And it's back.
I hear this really demonic growl. Is somebody there with me? I mean, I'm alone there at night. Is somebody there? I don't know.
It's worse than he can imagine.
It's scary as hell.
Stacy's working alone at night in a factory where he is being terrorized by an unknown being. Strange sounds, growls, and now a confrontation with a dark entity leaves Stacy shaken. The entity vanishes. Stacy tries to make sense of what's happening.
My first thought was, you know, I'm working a day job. I come in and do a night job, right? I'm working 14 hours a day. It's gotta be in my mind. I'm tired and I'm seeing things.
Stacy gets back to his work so he can get out of there fast.
After completing one of the speakers, I have to put it on these giant hooks, and then you hoist them up to the upper level and set them off to dry.
But the presence is back. More dangerous than ever.
I thought, oh my God, there's this giant speaker just fell right in front of me. Scared the hell out of me. The speaker had crashed in front of me and I almost had a near-death experience. This thing almost landed on me for no reason. It was hooked, it was secure. I made sure it was hooked. Something was obviously in the room with me. Is this thing following me? Is it part of my life now?
Cautiously, Stacy moves his work out of the paint room.
All of these events that are happening to Stacy feel very indicative of a demonic haunting. When you hear low growls, when things are trying to physically harm you, usually that's the sign of a demon. When you are under a lot of emotional stress, that definitely will attract more negative entities. There's a chance that this factory already had a lot of pent-up negative energy in it, so when Stacy entered this situation, that entity knew, okay, Stacy is vulnerable.
Stacy steels himself, believing the carpentry room will be safer.
He kept working.
I was, of course, on edge. I'm trying to calm down. I'm by myself. Nobody's coming in. I'm responsible for everything. I had this speaker that I was working on. What I had to do was to repaint this one area on it. And so in order to do that, I had to mask it off. Where I have to use a little tiny razor blade and trim it off so it'd be just right. I had my arm up here and I had a razor blade and I was cutting it along the edge. I heard this growl again.
There is no escape for Stacy.
Hell.
But before I could actually figure out what it was, I felt something grab my elbow.
No! Let go!
And it pushed my arm forward. I had the razor blade, which is really sharp. And it forced me into my other arm, cutting it. I was like, oh my God. I was starting to bleed really badly. And so I grabbed my arm, wrapped it up really good.
Stacy makes a run for his life.
First thing I thought was, I need to get to a hospital because I'm bleeding and I'm going to die.
Losing control of your body is an absolutely horrifying feeling, and in this case, the demonic entity was so powerful that it was able to override Stacy's willpower and force him to hurt himself.
After the violent attack, Stacy digs into the history of the factory. He discovers that he is working in the same place that an employee died, a tragic death.
This factory is basically like a feeding trough of negative energy. Demons sort of just go wherever the negative energy is. So this demon is just gonna keep coming back for more.
Luckily, the hospital wasn't too awfully far away.
After all of that, what were you thinking?
As I was sitting there getting stitches, I was thinking to myself, you know, I'm not going back there because I don't want to die.
So you never returned?
I did not go back and get my last paycheck. I didn't care. I didn't want to set another foot in that place, ever. I still got the scar on my arm, by the way. I'll carry it with me for the rest of my life. I didn't really believe in, you know, supernatural. Today, I'm pretty much a believer. In fact, it doesn't matter what I believe, it exists.
My name is James. I work the night shift.
James has always been interested in helping others, so he's looking forward to starting his new job at a school for special needs students.
I was hired as the dorm supervisor for teenage boys with special needs. This was a dream come true job for me.
The building is a historic one, having stood at the spot for more than a century. And for a century, there have been whispers that it's haunted.
I heard rumors, but I always thought that was hooey. I've been working night shifts for the longest time, but this was the first time I was actually looking after, you know, students. I was certainly nervous because I hadn't worked with a lot of special needs before, so I was especially nervous about that. I wanted to make a good impression.
His job is to keep watch over the children throughout the night as they sleep.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
A baby monitor keeps him connected to the kids at all times.
I have to check all the students every half hour to an hour to just make sure they're breathing. As I walk through the checks, I walk with my baby monitor. They had all the dorm rooms down the hallway.
On his first look, everything seems normal.
It was pretty dark. I was doing my checks and it was getting pretty routine already. I mean, all I did was walk up and down the hall, open the doors quietly and listen and listen.
But just a few hours into the shift, James notices something out of the ordinary.
Out of the corner of my eye, I see a shadow, and of course I have to look again. I thought I saw another person was in there with me, and he disappears. I'm thinking that I'm just tired and okay, my eyes are playing tricks on me.
James brushes it off.
I get back to the kitchen and it was after 2 o'clock in the morning, and I just started making some coffee. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just feel like tapping on my shoulder. I thought, There's no way there's a child behind me. No, 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 no. So, of course, I look, and there's nothing there. Trying to shake that off. And I got my coffee, and I sat down and tried to read a book.
But this wasn't the quiet night shift he was hoping for.
I happened to glance over at the refrigerator, and you know, before I noticed, yeah, there were refrigerator magnets with the alphabet, and I didn't think anything of it. But now I look up and I saw my name. The magnets were in a jumbled mess before, but now in the middle was Hi James.
Who wrote your name there?
Not these kids. I hadn't worked with them yet. I started to freak out a little bit. Too many weird things already. The tapping, the shadow of something, and now I see this.
Those that work the night shift should be ready at dead time, ready between 2:30 and 3 to see paranormal activity, absolutely. That is known as a time where paranormal activity is amped up. The magnets are being used as a device to communicate with James.
James has no idea who or what is trying to communicate with him.
I was a little scared. There was nobody else in this building except for me. The kids sleeping. Nobody could get in. And nobody knows my name, and so I don't know why I would see something like that. I was a little shaky. I was just wondering what was going to happen next. And then all of a sudden, clear as day, I hear a man's voice. Someone was in the school with me based on what I could hear on the monitor.
And that somebody knows his name.
I was definitely getting freaked out at this point.
Why didn't you get out of there?
I couldn't leave. I had to stay there and protect my kids, and especially if there was a lunatic running around just trying to freak me out.
James rushes to check on the boys.
I opened up the door. I walked in. I could see. I was relieved that I did not find anything. I backed out of the room quietly.
But the voice is back.
And I thought, this is impossible. I just checked those rooms, and I just checked the hallways. Constantly walking up and down and pacing up and down these hallways. There was no way there was somebody else in that building. This is starting to feel more like a...
Something paranormal?
I don't want to admit that, but yes. I'm a little nervous talking about this because I've always been a skeptic, and this is the first time that I've ever talked about this.
But if it's not a human, what is it?
It's a 100-year-old school, and I'd heard these rumors, and I just never really thought anything about it. I didn't believe in ghosts before. I was still trying to keep my wits about me.
The entity is moving closer.
I was worried about the kids. That's what the job was. I was there to protect these kids. I could not leave.
It keeps calling his name.
And I had to muster up some courage because I needed to get to the bottom of this. Figure out why I was hearing this. I didn't want to have to call anybody or let my boss know that I was freaking out.
James dashes up through the stairwell, but something stops him dead in his tracks. James's first night as a dorm supervisor at a special needs school has taken a terrifying turn. All the students are fast asleep, but someone something is awake, desperate for James's attention.
I didn't walk into expecting to see ghosts. That's when I saw an older gentleman wearing, it seems like a uniform from the 1800s.
The spirit has a warning for James.
I am the king.
And I'm what the hell? And he disappears. And there's nothing there. It's just me. There's no way that just happened. I know I'm not losing my mind. I was getting pretty scared and freaked at this point. I heard there was a spirit of a watchman, but that's all I heard. Maybe the rumors were true. I just wanted to get out of there.
But his duty to the innocent kids in his care keeps him there. He couldn't live with himself if anything happened to them.
I didn't want that on my conscience, on my head. I can't call my boss. I didn't want him to think that I was crazy and fire me on the spot, so I was just really trying to take care of it myself.
Listen to me, James.
But I wasn't feeling like I was a skeptic anymore.
Listen.
James has no reprieve. The spirit is watching him.
Listen to me, James.
The specter keeps trying to get James to listen.
It started to escalate. Things just seemed to get worse and worse and worse. Everywhere I walked around, I was starting to feel like he was there with me. I could feel his presence. Whew. I'd like this night to be over, and I'd like to calm down, but I wonder if he's still gonna be there.
James, I am watching you. James.
I'm very unnerved at this point.
Listen to me, James. Listen. James.
When I finally turned and looked at it, and I've never been so scared before or since.
The entity is now moving straight for James.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
I was getting panicky. I didn't know what I was going to do.
You want to me.
And the warning is terrifying.
Protect them.
I was really scared.
And with a message of protect them, it disappears.
I wish I could understand what was happening here.
You saw a full body apparition. What does it do to you?
It sent a jolt through my body, to be truthful.
After seeing the apparition of the watchman face to face, James now believes the stories.
Several people had seen it. I'd heard about it, but they were a little hush-hush about it. They didn't want to attract attention, I think. They had a hard time keeping somebody in this position. I am a skeptic until I had this job.
James tries to calm down.
I look up at the refrigerator.
The watchman has one last message.
And the magnets have changed. And now it says, take care of them.
What did you think when you saw that?
I was a little bit of a mixture of unnerved and maybe a little bit of relief. I felt a little weird about it, but I felt a little better.
I don't believe that children or James are in danger at all. I believe that this night watchman took his job into the afterlife and really is concerned about these children and wants to make sure that James continues the tradition.
At this point, I didn't feel that this was a scary spirit of the night watchman. I think he was there to help me. He still felt a moral obligation to these students.
How did your night end?
I felt a little bit of relief knowing that my night was almost over.
James survives his first night shift, but is still quite shaken up.
I know I definitely saw the watchman. I didn't know if I had the stomach for this, being visited by watchmen and the voices on the monitor. I did not know. I didn't want to have that.
The events of that first night changed James forever.
I had an authentic experience. I'm sorry for ever judging people who talk about having experiences, because I'm one of them, and I believe now.